Okay. The people are still coming in. We'll give them a couple seconds. Hello and welcome to the CMON live stream. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jeff Skinner, and today we are here to talk about one of the most highly anticipated and requested games we've ever launched. We're going to be taking a close look at DC Superheroes United, which launches next week on GameFound. As always, you can find the link to the campaign and other links we mentioned during the show in the description below. There's already quite a few gameplay videos out there covering all the villains from the core box, so you can see how each of them plays. So please check those out after the show. And be sure to subscribe if you want to follow all our coverage of DC Superheroes United. Even with as much as we're going to discuss today, there's a lot more coming over the next few weeks. Today's show is packed. So we're going to get right to it. I don't want it to delay at all because we do have a lot to cover. I do want to remind you quickly that we want to answer as many of your questions as we can right here on the live show. So please leave them in the chat. So without further delay, I'd like to welcome back to the show two of my favorite people, DC Superhero United designer Andrea Chiarvesio and DC Superhero United producer Thiago Aranha. Hello. I am so excited to see you guys.
Everybody, it's great to be here.
Hello, everybody. We're finally back, united.
Yes, this has been a long time coming. I kind of want to get an idea first off. There's a lot of material out there. I think more than we normally put out, and I think I'm so happy to see it. Like all the gameplays happen, or the gameplays come in. You know, this is clearly a project that you all are extremely proud of. When did this process start?
For you, it's been years. Like this one has been
so many years. I don't really remember. I mean, I was looking earlier, going through my email, and I found like an email I sent in October 2021 to the upper management saying, "Oh, guys, yes, the core box of DC is going to be finished by the end of the year." So that was 2021. I don't remember exactly when I started, but it was probably a couple of months earlier.
Yeah, it's been a long time in development. You know, doing from deciding all the rosters and starting on all the art and sculpting, of course, all the work that Andrea does. Whatever it is, that takes a long time. And I'm
reading
really
all the comic books, watching all the movies, watching all the TV show. It's a tough job, but somebody has to do it.
But I'm really happy with the whole process because we've been given the time to really work this out. Like I think we're coming into the campaign with a really solid position, right? We know everything. We have as you've seen, we were able to get the prototype ready and into the hands of many people all over the world. So it's it feels good to be doing things in a very nice and timely fashion. And just go for it.
That's good because I mean these are really small games that don't have a lot of characters included. I'm joking, of course. The United system is well known for a wide variety of player options. Actually, Rockshire Gaming asks, so are we getting an Earth 1 amount of characters or a Crisis level amount? It's a tough call.
I think one of the toughest thing about doing the researches and in all aspects of DC is all the Earths and pre-crisis and post this whatever, because they've been playing on this sandbox for 90 years, so a lot has happened and we need to choose where to tackle things. And it's interesting, this campaign is working kind of in parallel with the Deceased campaign, which we just did earlier, which we are wrapping up the production and all that. But that was much more focused. We're following these comics, so we had a scope that was more defined. Here, it's DC is your playhouse. What do you do with it? And when you look at that 90 years of comic book making, and you have to choose where do you go, what do you do, what do you mine? That's kind of mind-boggling, right, Andrea?
Absolutely. I mean, choosing it's always hard. I mean, I have to try to I would like to have all the characters I know and all the characters I like in the game, and it's not always possible. And sometimes also Thiago is throwing me curveballs like, "Oh yeah, we should include this guy." And oh, really? Okay, I have no idea how to design this, so it's pretty complicated. But yeah, I mean, it's really a huge task. It's really a huge task. When I talk with developers, they are like they reached to the end of June, they were exhausted just for all the text and the combinations and everything that is in store for you guys. So get ready.
I mean, and on top of that, with the not only the entirety of the DC universe, but also the long history, we're talking about characters that are 80, 85, almost 90 years old. In some cases, there's so many iterations of each one. I mean, that is a ton to dig through, I think.
Yeah. We need to focus on which iteration of the character makes more sense in terms of the game, in terms of the other characters that are around, because it cannot be just a weird mishmash of things. It has to all kind of gel together into this game. Thankfully, United has a very strong visual identity, so we are able to clearly, but thanks to Edouard Guiton's amazing work, like the art style brings like everything kind of looks cohesive. So I think that that's a real benefit that we have in terms of being able to have our original take on these characters for specifically for United, which is the specific tone that we hit, which is kind of whimsical but still serious and still dangerous, still has an edge to it. But at the end, it's fun. Like it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be it's a quick, simple, fun game that brings these characters to life.
Yeah.
Well,
The biggest
yeah.
Sorry,
Go
the
ahead.
biggest challenge I believe is the villains because they have a long history and very different incarnations. So choosing the right angle for the villain is sometimes very hard because you know that you cannot show all the different plots, all the different faces, all the different versions of a character. But yeah, let's move on to the next question, or we will never be on time.
I see one interesting question. Someone's asking about actually the cover art, like why aren't Lex and Cheetah on the front? And like this cover art was, I see many discussions about it, and yeah, like it's a very different take for like a United cover, which is something that that Guiton really he wanted to do something different. He wanted to, he's been doing United for a while, and he thought, for DC Superheroes United, I have a different vision. I want to do something, more like a poster, more not just like throw the characters in there, but I want to compose something. Play around with the scales, with the setting, and all that. And of course, we say, show us if it works, it works. And of course, he does that, and we go, yeah, like that's awesome. Like it has its own unique flavor. It's very impactful, and yeah, of course, sometimes he doesn't show every character that is in the box, but that's not the point. Like you understand it is Justice League focused, and you're going to show the character between the front and the back. Like people will know what's in there. Like we don't have to specifically just do the classic all the actors heads movie poster that is not all that artistic. So here we went like express yourself and just do the best art you can, and I think it paid off, and you'll see a lot more very interesting covers as we go into the campaign. I think Edouard really outdid himself with these covers.
Well, I think it's interesting, always an interesting selection of characters which are going to be in the cover, but also which characters you wanted to put into the core box. And as you said, the villains, it's the tough thing because you want a really wide variety. So I'd love to kind of, all of these have been revealed through our social media and on the gameplay, but I'd still love to hear your thoughts behind what you wanted to do in the core box itself, which is going to be I think the main one that most people get.
Yeah, of course. Andrea?
So, I already see a couple of questions about the villains also in the chat. Well, Joker was the very first one I designed, and it's a very unique take on the Joker. He's a psychopath, a madman going around poisoning people, and you don't want him you want to stop him, but he's trying to make you waste time in chasing him and stopping the poison so that he will have the final laugh because he has another plan in the pocket. So I think that was really the big sparkle for the design of those villains. And so very interesting question. Was Lex Luthor design a response to the common United strategy of completing two missions and then finishing them both on the same turn? Yes and no. That, of course, it's a common strategy that, I mean, we already, of course, found it out during season, during other things. But yes, it's a way to challenge the players with a different puzzle. I think this is one of the main design drives we had with DC, because we also have very, very powerful heroes. So trying to give the players a different puzzle to solve on each and every villain, it's one of the most important, probably, design lessons that I brought with me to DC Superheroes Unite. And speaking of the other villains, well, Darkseid is one of the villains where it was so difficult to choose an angle. So I went for this not really fighting Darkseid. He kind of ignores the heroes. He wants to complete to find the anti-life equation, and he's a really tough one because he only needs to take the five pieces of the equation to win, to fulfill his villainous plot, and they already start with the anti-life side on. So all he has to do is to move on that location to grab the piece of the equation. That also counts as clearing a threat, which again is another way to break the common strategy we were discussing before. So I think it is really, really more challenging that you might think based on the gameplay you have seen so far.
And actually, one thing about Darkseid, 'cause I'm just looking at this lineup here, and I think like on the renders, he doesn't look as big as I know he is, because I have the plastic minis here, and the thing is, when you compare like Darkseid to the Joker, like in the end, like he is actually, like, of course Joker is sitting on his little Jack in a Box thing. So I think we actually increased him after the sculpting phase. When we got the samples, we increased his size a little bit more, so because he's actually taller than a Joker. So he is more impressive than actually what we're showing here and what we're showing in other like renders and such. So Darkseid was a very interesting one, because we even like gave him like all the like rocky texture that he has. Like his skin is all crackle, which is not something we usually do for United. But like when I first saw just a smooth thing, like it didn't have that Darkseid feel, so we kind of gave it more texture, and it pumped his size as big as would make sense for Darkseid to be, because he is, the big bad of the DC universe.
Well, let's talk about that quickly too. Are there different levels of difficulty for these four villains? Is there one that you recommend people start with if they're new to the system? Like who's the hardest in the box?
Yeah, I think people new to United, or just to start the core box, you should try Cheetah first. She's not that easy, but is the more straightforward villain of the four.
Yeah, because I
So
think
her gameplay
there's
is
a
a bit
difference
more
between
direct. Yeah,
difficult and complicated, right? Because some of them are more like the Joker is quite involved. There are all those things to consider, but that's not exactly the difficulty. It's just, you need to track all these things. And the Cheetah, like I think, is more straightforward, right? She's fast, she's evasive, she'll hit you and run away. You have less things to keep track of when fighting her, but it's not that it's easy necessarily.
and then in terms of difficulty, I think the other three are more or less all at the same level. A distraction can cause you to lose the game against Lex or Joker, while it's less difficult to lose just because you made a bad move against Darkseid, but he's really challenging. In terms of complexity, I think Joker is the more complex of the three left, just because there are a lot of little things to keep track on, like remembering to put him back in play after he was found hidden between the tags, and a lot of BAMs on his threats and stuff. But in terms of chances for the heroes to win, I think they are more or less at the same level. I mean, they are major DC villains after all, so they should not be beaten so easily.
I think we can address as a question about the art style, about which way to go in New 52. I think that's something we could address. Recent comment there by Rockshire again. Can you bring it up? Yeah. Yeah, so he's asking about like the specific art style, the uniforms, like how did we chose that? You're off the hook, Andrea. Well, of course, like we were very involved in terms of which characters we wanted to use, with Andrea very closely like suggesting what could bring mechanics and all that into the game. But in terms of the specific style and like the uniforms and the iteration of the characters, some of it, a lot of it, half of it, I don't know, a bunch of it came directly from DC. Like they gave us specific directions, like here's a character sheet, like this is the style we want you to follow, of course adapted to the United way of doing things. But oftentimes they gave us specific directions of which version of the uniform or whatever they wanted to see in the game. Sometimes they let us propose something, and then we chose whatever would work with what the other things we had. So we had some leeway there, but we were following like specific directions from the licensors, because yeah, it's a licensed game, it's a big license, so we need to work very closely with the licensor in terms of the look, the design, and all that, and even like the roles that the characters play. I think those were some of the more in-depth conversations we had with them in terms of how we can use these characters, what they can do in the game. Of course, again, many of these characters, they have decades and decades of storyline, which means basically anybody could basically do anything at any point in time. They did whatever, but they wanted a specific focus for different characters that we had to follow to bring that into the game.
Well, we talked a little bit about the villains now, so I'm hoping we can move to the heroes and talk about just new mechanics, things that are new to the United System that are going to help them defeat the evil.
Well, first of all, they are just awesome. Of course, I knew we wanted when it came to doing like Superman, I knew we wanted to have Superman flying, so I knew I wanted to have him basically hovering as high as we almost ever did, because like this is the flying hero. So like hanging him up there on those kind of Fortress of Solitude crystals was a nice way to do it. And by the way, before people ask, why isn't this a clear piece? Because it is the same piece as the cape, and it has to be, so this floating things works. So unless we do the whole cape also clear, that just wouldn't work. And that's a thing with like clear parts and whatever, when we can, when it makes sense, it's always nice to do some clear effects, but sometimes it's just not feasible. It doesn't make sense, depending on the box and how the parts separate and whatnot. But we're gonna have some cool stuff, don't worry about it.
So mechanically, I think we can talk a little bit about how we can use these amazing miniatures and what we can do with them on the board.
So, well, sticking to the core box only, but we already see two new features here. One is simply, a way to really highlight the permanent effect on the storyline. This is mostly for the players to remember about those effects and where the cards are for the easy of checking them. But we are introducing here the flippable cards, which are the ones with the special action text in a yellow background and
charge cards.
Yeah, charge. Oh yeah, sorry, I called them flippable, but yes, in the rulebook are charge. I always forget. Anyway, those are special actions with a delayed timing, so you can choose to flip the card later on. There is usually a trigger. It's most of the times will be during a future hero turn of yours, but some of them might have different triggers. And those are the two main new things we are seeing for the heroes here. We
Yeah,
already see here.
I really like
Oh yeah,
the on that Aquaman card, like the tidal wave. I like the dynamics that this creates, because like have Aquaman and he's basically brewing that tidal wave. Like you play the card and you're preparing that, and it's building up, it's building up, it's building up, and then eventually when the time comes, you just flip that card and you just wash everything away.
yeah. And you also see the first big new thing about the villains, so the under pressure effects. That can be a different way of having their villains bam during when they are under pressure, or a different special effects on the master plan cards, or other changes to the game that will happen when they are under pressure.
And for those not who know, under pressure is once the heroes complete
yes.
their first mission, the villain becomes under pressure. He plays cards more often, and now sometimes we have those effects where something else changes. Not all villains have that, but some do. Whenever it makes sense to have these things in different parts, it's just another tool in the toolkit to use to make interesting villains.
I think it really helps designing the villains and giving them like sometimes even two different ways of playing, totally different when they are not or yes under pressure. So I think that was a very, very interesting design space we are introducing here in the United system.
Yeah, I think with Lex, it's very obvious the difference, because before under pressure, he's pretending to be a hero and he's rescuing people and he's trying to play nice and complete his missions. And then when he realizes the heroes are onto him, he just flips and like no more Mr. Nice Guy, and now he's just full on attacking and going to war against the heroes. It's a very big flip, I think, that happens with Lex.
I think we need a little clarification. Yes, the BAM after being KO'd is still a standard rule. However, many villains will have an alternate effect.
Well, the thing, technically not really, because like now we're like on the cards, like because we don't want to all the time write they don't bam, instead they do this.
Exactly.
Basically we're leaving it open, so every villain lists what the KO effect is, and oftentimes it is a bam, but then it's much cleaner to just go either it's a bam or it's something else. Just read the dashboard and you'll see what the KO effect is.
So you see, Lex works like every villain we know already, and other might have a different special rule for KO.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. It feels like that's going to add a lot of variety to, I think, what the villains can do and what they're capable of, and just the differences between the two. There's actually a ton of great questions here about gameplay, but I wanted to move on before we get to some of them to the locations. What's going on location-wise? What's new with locations?
Well, I think the first thing is there are 10 of them. I'm not sure we revealed that officially yet, but I think people have been counting whichever ones we revealed here and there. But yeah, for the first time, a United Core Box has 10 locations, which, yeah, I wanted to start off with a big roster. And because we have some tricky ones there, we didn't want to force players to use them if they don't want to, and still have a good variety. So that's why we wanted, and this also allowed us to explore places tied to basically almost all the heroes and villains, and like everyone has their spot there.
There's just so many iconic locations, I think, within the DC universe that I think are almost as famous as the characters in a lot of cases.
Benjamin asked Tails. and Tails is not looking too good.
Let's actually. I think Tails means that we need to talk about some of the harder locations here that you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just show the dark side of this thing.
Exactly. Which actually is where the new mechanical stuff is, at least here. So you can already see Apocalypse, that we promised to fix the typo, is the very first location we are seeing with no end of turn effect. So it's totally a negative location for the heroes. It will be mandatory, of course, against Darkseid, and you can still use it in any other game to make it just a little more difficult, if you please. So that's one new thing about locations in DC Superheroes United. And since there are no other new things in the core box, I don't want to talk any more about locations.
But one thing we can talk about there is, you see, like, there are at least 3 locations there, and that's something that we didn't used to do much, which is those permanent effects that sit above the end of turn effects. So that is something we're exploring, not all the time, but more and more, like having locations with some permanent effect, which can be a good thing, can be a neutral thing just to give it character, or can be a negative thing, like with Apocalypse. So just to have something there that happens regardless of what the threat is doing and whatnot, there's some effect that makes the location even more unique.
Well, since you've already brought out the coin, I want to see if I can get another flip of it, because Mitch Donahue asks, we know we're getting Two-Face's coin, which we just saw, but we've yet to learn what it does. Sounds like a good time to change that, but I don't know if we're going to be able to answer that question, so you're going to have to find out.
Let's see. No, I guess you don't. But yeah, so the Two-Face coin. So it's one of those silly things I get caught up in, where we have the chance to do this. We have the license. We're doing a game. We can do this. It's like come on, let's do a proper metal Two-Face coin. It's going to be awesome. And I just kind of got obsessed with it. Like, this took way too much of my time that I should have been devoted to other things. But just getting the size right and the design, because like it has the chibi style, but it's still like a cool collector's coin. And talking to the factory, can you do like the weathering effect and sculpting it so it works with the side. So a lot of thought went into this, and it's just a nice flipping coin. I actually keep one of the samples in my wallet. I use it because I always all my life I did coin flips to decide things. So now I have my Two-Face coin to do this, and I urge everybody, follow the campaign, because if you follow the campaign, you will get one of these coins for free with your pledge. So don't miss out, because you need to follow before the campaign launches, because afterwards you can't follow if it's already live. So make sure you are a follower on the email that you're going to back the campaign on.
The link the link to the campaign is in the description below.
You should all thank Thiago, because my original design was just dropping a line to Thiago saying, "Can we have a coin token?" Looks how it turned out to be.
You never know. I say no most of the time, but sometimes I say a big yes.
So we are at the halfway mark. Very quickly, I want to take a look at what these miniatures might look if you paint them.
Ooh, yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. We showed a few of them, but we haven't shown all of them. And yeah, Big Child doing their magic as always.
I don't know how they do that. It's just amazing. Just the shading on them always looks like they stepped right out of a cartoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're gonna have once the campaign launches, we're gonna have full galleries with these to show them properly. But yeah, like painting these minis is just like, it's for many people, it's like a big part of the enjoyment of the game, and they are just so nice to paint. Like everything, all the details pop, and you uncover all the things that are hidden on the bases and little Easter eggs and all that. So yeah.
In fact, I just want to give a shout out to the United Fanatics Facebook group, where I feel like I see 100 new pictures daily of people, from everybody from beginner to incredibly advanced, showing up their miniatures, and how encouraging that group has been. So if you want tips on how to paint, or if you want ideas of what some of these can look like, definitely check out that Facebook group. It's something I go to every day. I see Andrea on there all the time.
I try to follow, yes.
No, we have some very nice groups of fans.
Really nice, yes.
On Facebook, on Discord. It's always nice to see people getting excited and hearing people's reports about playing it, be it gamers or families, parents with their kids. Like, it's just so nice to see how big this game has become and how much people are enjoying it. So I hope you're going to enjoy this one a lot more.
I know there is a subreddit. I know there is a Discord channel. And I mean, even if I can't follow everything for time reasons, but I think the community for United is really a great one. So
yeah, thank you, Kingfisher Games from the Discord as well, as just mentioned. We really do appreciate it. It's so amazing to see the different stories that people have coming from the table and the game description, the epic games that people have. It's just fantastic.
So we've been yapping for half an hour, and we haven't even looked at the trailer for this thing.
Oh wait, we have a trailer?
Yes, it's as if we're hiding something or whatever. I think isn't it time to?
I don't know. I guess. Do you think it's going to reveal anything new?
See,
I can flip a coin.
Why not? I guess let's. That was awesome.
I'm just grinning. So yes, we're gonna have a date expansion, and it is next slide. Teen Titans. As I've tried to hint with some of the previous work CMON has done.
I feel like this might be a fan favorite. I think I saw this mentioned in the comments more than any other kind of want out of the viewers today. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, the Teen Titans, they are very popular. They are a very, very cool group of heroes. And, of course, as far as the day one expansion, we always want to have like very impactful villains. And like, this is a couple big villains, literally and metaphorically. So I think this brings, the epicness that we want to bring to the table with the additional expansions. So yeah, it's a crowdfunding exclusive expansion going day one. And where do we start? I think we start from the cover.
Let's take a look.
Not even that. No, don't move, because I was talking about cover artworks, and like this is a very striking cover artwork that Giton did, and again, it kind of points back to the fact that like we don't need to show everything. We just need a very cool cover. That's what we're trying to do. So like even Trigon there, like you don't see him, you just feel his very ominous presence, and even Deathstroke, like you just have his mask there hanging on his swords. So we're playing around with it, just making something that feels cool and unique and just awesome to have on the shelf. Where do we go from here?
Shall we see who's in the box?
Who's in the box? Well, yes. So yes, we have 4 Titans. Of course, one of the Teen Titans is already in the core box in Cyborg, so he doesn't have to show up here. But yeah, we have Robin, our classic Dick Grayson Robin, Raven, Beast Boy, Starfire, and Deathstroke, and Trigon. Trigon or Trigon? I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Trigon, maybe. Jeff?
Trigon. Yeah, let's go with Trigon.
And we can already see a few cards here for the heroes. So, yeah, a lot of reveals. So, well, for Robin, of course, Dick Grayson will show his skill as a detective and in interrogating thugs. He fights with his eskrima sticks, which is a very cool equipment. And he's the leader of the group, as you know. I think both Raven and Starfire are very interesting characters. Raven, she's powerful. Well, I don't know if the correct word is sorceress or anyway.
She's a sorceress.
Yes. Okay. And well, she has 10 different spells in her arsenal, which is somehow compensated by the fact that she won't give away that many actions to the other team members, but each and every spell is unique and interesting, I believe. As of Starfire, we all know how powerful she can be. And you see an example of a flippable and a very good permanent ability she has, which is energy redirection, if I'm not wrong.
Energy absorption, that one.
Absorption.
She can absorb attacks and use that to generate her own actions. She's all about using her energy in creative ways. I really love Raven's deck. The fact that you have your whole deck is all unique cards with unique abilities. Like you have lots of choice. Of course, balance in terms of the actions that she's able to give, in terms of how she plays with the team, and the fact that Robin, even though he's young, he's on the Teen Titans, he's a leader, so he really helps his teammates. He's directing everybody. He's using everything he learned from the bat, and paying it forward. And
probably the most unique is our green friend Beast Boy. You might have noticed he has a unique card, Trianthropy.
Which this is not a hero card. It's not on your deck. This is a special card that's in front of you.
Exactly. It won't go on the storyline. It's a special power he has. His shape-shifting powers. So you can choose at the end of your turn one of the many different forms that are available for him, and they will interact with his special actions. So they give him a permanent ability. So it's like having 8 different permanent abilities, and you can change them at the end of your turn, depending on what you think it could be more useful on the next turn. Also keeping in mind the icons below, because his special action will make you use the icons at the bottom of the animal form card. So I think it's a very, very interesting mechanic. It took a lot to make it work properly. Honestly, I think we had like 10 different versions of those cards, but I'm really happy with the final outcome, because it's always a very interesting choice for the player that plays as Beast Boy. Oh, okay, now I'm turning into a little mouse or a giant whale. Oh no, maybe it's better to go with the dragon for that extra punch.
I think the Beast Boy was a big challenge here, and I think what you managed to pull off here is amazing. I remember at the very beginning we discussed like, oh, should we Beast Boys? Do we do like 2 or 3 like miniatures, so you swap out and you change to different things? It's like that's like, I think we can. You said I think we can do more with this, and I think the solution that you came up with in terms of, you basically have 2 decks of cards almost. You have your hero cards that you play normally, and then you have all your animal forms that you can choose whatever you want. So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of doing whatever you need to do to deal with whatever comes, and you can even use the same thing several turns in a row or keep changing. But then that's balanced by the fact that you need to always be thinking ahead to what you're going to do, because he can't just change on a whim. So you have to plan, okay, on my next turn, what do I want to be? And then you prepare for that. And then you play as that animal. And then okay, the next turn, how things are looking here. So I think that really balances out, because otherwise you would be just, he can always do whatever he wants. But the fact that you need to be looking at the game and coordinating with people, like, okay, guys, by next turn, let's be doing this, because I'm going to be a whale and I'm going to just sit this out, and I'm going to be a dragon. I'm going to protect this location, or I'm going on the attack. I'm turning into a bull and I'm charging at the villain. So make sure that by next turn he's vulnerable. So you really need to coordinate to use this to the best of their effect. And I think this is. This more than justifies the way to do this in terms of a deck of cards. So you have your Beast Boy miniature there on the table all the time, and it is like a very nice and dynamic mini, just hanging there on his pole, very animal-like. Oh, sorry. Ooh, there we go. So here's a little Beast Boy, and so yeah.
How many cards are in his deck?
So he has a normal 12 cards hero deck, which they don't really have abilities except for some that allow him to use the actions on his animal form cards. And then on his animal form deck, he has these 8 cards that you can be using every turn, deciding what you want to do.
Wow, that sounds like one of the most versatile characters, but still contained within a normal-sized deck.
Yeah, and abilities are widely different, of course, from a mouse to a freaking dragon. So yeah.
And all useful depending on which situation you are.
Yeah, situational.
So
let me show one more. Like some of the sculpts, like Raven is. I love how Edouard didn't hold back on the wingspan on her. She just looks so cool and ominous.
It looks fantastic.
Okay, no, I need to do one more. Starfire. Because this is one of those fun things in terms of that she's actually flying, and she's just hanging in the air by her hair, which flows to the ground. And if you paint this as like the kind of fiery colors it has, it's going to look awesome. Really, really happy with how this turned out.
Definitely echoes of the Superman flight in that one. That's
it's always interesting, all these flying heroes, how you can find different ways to make a flying mini, because we can't really do a flying mini, but there are tricks and things we can explore.
Not yet.
And of course, we couldn't leave the leader out. Let's give a hand to Dick here, and his on top of a circus tent, which is a bit tragic, but that's his past.
All right. So we covered the Titans. Shall we talk about some of the bad guys?
Let's go to the baddies.
Yeah.
Two very different villains here.
Different and nasty villains here. Well, Deathstroke is the best assassin in the world. So he will come at you trying to kill you, and he has so many different assassination techniques in his arsenal. So his gameplay will basically be, he comes to you, you reveal an assassination technique card, and you need to match with the cards in your hand, the cards in the assassination technique. If you don't, you take 1 damage for every symbol you cannot match, which means it can be really brutal. So you have this very interesting gameplay. Should I play my strongest card now and then be open to a deadly attack by Deathstroke, or maybe play a bit more conservative but get ready to stop the attack, the incoming attack? I think it comes for a very, very interesting fight, and of course, when he goes under pressure, he might become unstoppable or have other surprises in store for you. So, show him.
Here's him. I love his base. He have actual skulls, like cute little chibi skulls, but skulls nonetheless. So he is not playing around. And yeah, we like the ribbon there flying, ready for the kill.
We have Trigon, and you might notice, for people that knows United, he has no H points, uh, because
Yeah,
you
no health.
can't
Yeah.
damage Trigon. No, you can only banish him to another dimension, and to do that, the heroes will need to solve all his threat, and this won't be easy to clear, because
Yeah,
you
because the
cannot
idea is
enter.
it's closing the
Yeah,
seals, right?
it's closing the seals. Yes, you close the seal and you banish him into the dimension he's trying to escape from and to invade Earth. Uh, you cannot touch him. You can't even enter his location, and he's going to push you away from the seals you are trying to close. So bring Flash to the fight. Oh, okay, sorry for that. It might be useful. Also, we wanted to make a special gift here, because you can use Trigon as an extra challenge in every game of United.
If you're a glutton
Uh,
for punishment, yeah.
yes, yes, even with 2 different levels of difficulty. So
Yeah, and that's actually something that you can see on the challenge and even on his dashboard there, which is something we played around at times here, which is kind of difficulty modes for some villains and stuff. Like we can do a little hard mode here with a little different rules. So if you want to play in hard mode, some characters will have that option. Some challenges will have that option of a regular mode and a hard mode. But yeah, with the Trigon challenge, yeah, he's roaming around. He's been summoned. He's roaming around. He's avoiding the villain, but he's empowering like the thugs, the henchmen. He's just sowing mayhem and making life miserable. And you need to really try to confront him, use your heroics, and try to banish him away so you can deal with the villain on its own. So yeah, if you're feeling that any challenge is a bit easier for you, you can bring Trigon in and it's going to balance things out for sure.
and I think getting some villains to different levels of difficulty already like solved at least partially the issues or the question about how challenging are the villains in DC Superheroes United. I think what is really important within the system is to give modularity options to the players so that you can really fine tune the gameplay at the level of challenge you want to have a good time. I mean, it's superhero tales, so most of the times they should, I believe, end up winners, but not always. Oh, yeah, he's big.
Yeah, he's plenty big. It's a heavy mini. They're crushing a phone booth. I hope Superman made it out in time. And if you want a little scale comparison, here's Robert.
Now you
yeah.
see why he can damage him.
Yeah, and his attacks are vicious. Like I remember looking at the cards and oh my god, like this. Well, it makes sense. He's a cosmic demon from kind of hell. It's complicated, but yeah, I love these chunky miniatures. So this is a nice centerpiece.
Amazing villains. Our first big villain of the campaign, and we also have had a number of questions about anti-heroes. I'll just pull one here. Mitch Donahue asks, will there be anti-heroes in this campaign? This may get into spoiler territory, so the answer could be, wait and find out. I don't know.
It's a good thing. So I guess I don't need to use my magic 8-ball anymore because now I have a coin. So, well, and of course I refer back to what I said about working with the licensor in terms of what role characters can play in the game. So we'll see how the coin flips.
So let's talk about. So we already had 10 locations in the core box. Some of those are just the most iconic, I think, throughout the DC universe. I would love to dive into a little bit of the locations here in the Teen Titan expansion.
Right. Yeah, we do have 4 new locations, very Titan focused. We have, of course, the Titan's Tower and some Jump City stuff, Jump City High School, Jump City Juvenile Correctional Facility, and the Hive Tower.
I really love the correction facility that turns
Yeah.
thugs into civilians.
makes it's so obvious. It hurts. Like, yeah, it corrects, it rehabilitates thugs into civilians. And then you have like basically similar abilities for Jump City High School and the Titan's Tower, which is all about you keeping places safe, keeping places free of thugs, of endangered civilians. And then you get a benefit if you basically accomplish this task. Actually, it's a Hive Tower, the Hive Tower and Titan's Tower, where you try to keep civilians away from Hive Tower because they shouldn't be there. And you want to keep the Titan's Tower free of thugs, keep your headquarters safe, and then you're able to use it to its full extent and get some action tokens.
Should we take a look at maybe what these painted miniatures might look like?
Oh, yes, of course.
Definitely what mine will look like once I paint them. No, they won't look like that at all.
Yeah. That painted Starfire hair, it's fire.
And she's floating there too, so you have to get all the way around the other side of her legs with a tiny little brush. These look great. I wanted to ask a question here that also may or may not be answered. I think this is going to require a flip of the coin. Sorry, that's a pretty unpronounceable name, but they ask, since we have Dick Grayson in parentheses, is this hinting at other Robins down the line? And before you flip the coin to answer or not, I would love to ask all of you to list your top 5 heroes and top 5 villains that you would like to see in the campaign. I'm so curious about what the people that you really want to see. If you can do it in the comments here, comments on Facebook, that'd be great. I just want to see everybody's list to see what you're excited about. But for now, are there going to be other Robins in this campaign?
Well, the DC kind of heavily enforces how we need to call each character, so it might be just that. I don't know.
In retrospective, we should have put Superman, Clark Kent.
I think if we do this all the time, it's going to be quite tricky.
But just to make them wonder, just to confuse them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Andrea, somebody had asked earlier about on working on the United system over the years, what you've learned and been able to kind of evolve and put into this. And I think some of that goes too for characters that you pull from different parts, like in DC, there's going to be different eras where, Robin's a good example, or Dick Grayson, Nightwing, they're really distinct on who they are in that moment in time. How do you, what does your experience kind of tell you to work on these types of characters?
I think it's the biggest feedback. We mentioned already the community, and listen to the community. I came to realize that really players want each and every one of those heroes to feel unique, to feel that exact specific hero. And that was the purpose from the beginning. But I think each time we try to make an extra effort to make sure. I think you saw that with Beast Boy, for example, but it's the same for all the heroes that have been revealed so far.
I think we realized both the system and the players could handle more.
Yeah. So that you can really feel that you're playing. Still, the game is easy enough that you can teach to somebody that is new to the system in a few minutes. And I make sure that in each and every core box there is at least one villain and 1 or 2 heroes that are really straightforward that you can use to them to learn the game and the system. Because in terms of rules, actually we have not really added any big or real rule to the game. So the system is that.
Yeah, there's no
Uh,
2.0.
that's-
It's united. Yeah.
yeah.
So I see people asking about all their characters they want to see in the game, the rosters and all that, and it's very very interesting, like building this roster and even evolving it because we've been working on this for a while. Like even when Disease was live, we were getting a lot of feedback about what characters people liked there or didn't like there, or when or they missed there. So it was interesting after Disease wrapped, kind of looking at our roster, and I was second guessing myself, like, oh, should we be having the same characters we had in DC? Should we be trying something different? Will they miss because we don't have this character that was there, but we have this character that wasn't there? In the end, it did affect some of the changes. Some of the feedback we got on that campaign did affect some of what's going to happen in DC Superheroes United. But one thing is for sure, that character that you asked will not be here, and the other character that people want will also not be here, because there are 90 years worth of characters and we are going to miss a lot of them. And we are not going to be able to bring a lot of them to the game, but at the same time there will be a lot of other ones, many of them which are sure things, like some of these characters will be here, and there are some that I think one of the characters I'm most excited about, I don't think I've seen a single person ask for. And I hope that when we reveal it, people will find it awesome as I think it is. But, there are these things, because we want to do the staples, but we want to surprise people. You want to make a fun campaign and a fun game for you. So we need to pick a bit of everything.
I mean, I'm always surprised by the fact that, like, my favorite hero, DC hero, is never mentioned in the comments. So, well, you are going to be surprised when they show up.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. One of the things that I've just been fascinated with too, with the evolution of like how the characters are done, is like I think in this game in particular, there's a really nice emphasis on equipment that I think really bronze out what you can do with each character, and I think was going to make for some really interesting kind of, I don't know if you call it light deck building or something like that, where it just gives a lot more options to all the characters that you're putting out there.
Yeah, it's again, it's tough to balance, but the wall equipment mechanic came out with Batman. I mean, who is Bruce Wayne without his toys? And I wanted to give him as many as possible, and Thiago knows. I'm always asking for more.
And you twisted my arm quite a bit there, but I really like the
Yes.
fact that Batman's mechanic, because he has more equipment than he's allowed to use, basically his gameplay starts before you even start the game. So you're playing Batman before the game starts, because you're choosing, what am I going to do? I'm going to tackle this villain, so what am I taking? And this is Batman 100%. It's the preparation before the battle. So there's gameplay in setup.
Yeah.
When I play as Batman, I try to use both approaches. Like, one is, okay, let me study or remember what the villain does, because I don't remember. There's so many. And okay, now I need this, I need that, I need that piece of equipment. Or I just go, okay, I go on patrol with this and that equipment, and then let's see what I find along the way. And those are two equally fun way to play Batman.
I am extremely sad to say we hit the hour mark. We are running over time, and I think it is time to let you all get back to work on finishing up this incredible campaign that launches July 10th on GameFound. The links are in the comments and also in the description below. Make sure you get there to get your free Two-Face coin. Go sign up and ask to be notified. Follow the campaign on GameFound for that. I just want to thank Andrea and Thiago. I thank you so much for coming on today. This was unbelievably informative. Hopefully people out there are really, really excited, or maybe as excited as I am. I'm just an enormous fan of the United system and how flexible and wide it goes, and what the different things you can do to it, do with it, and what it how much different types of gameplay it can offer within a single box. So I am wildly excited. I cannot wait to see everyone's top 5 lists of the people, the heroes and villains that they're looking for. I kind of want to know Andrea's top 5 list. Hopefully, maybe toward the last show, we've got about a few more weeks of shows that we're going to come to you and update you. We're going to launch new things, expansions. We're going to have new trailers, and we have a lot to show off in this campaign. This is one of the biggest campaigns I think that we've ever put together.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for being here, for watching, and looking forward to seeing you all on launch day.
I look forward to see you guys. It's going to be a ride. It's going to be great. So
thank you all. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, let's see what's next in the master plan.